Captain America Civil War officially beat Batman v Superman. How did it do it? So I guess this is going to be a thing now. The response to my last video was so overwhelmingly positive, so I'm going to keep doing it for a while and feel it out with you guys. I threw out a couple options videos I thought about doing, and the one that I got the most response back for was comparing Captain America Civil War to Batman v Superman, so that's what we're jumping into right now. Before we go any further, I'd like to make a couple things clearer though. I'm a huge DC fan. I love DC's stable of heroes. I'm a huge Superman fan especially. If I was forced to choose, even though I love some of Marvel's characters, I would label myself more of a DC guy. And on top of that, I didn't hate Batman v Superman. Was it everything I wanted it to be? No, I didn't think it was a disaster or an affront to filmmaking or any of that. But Captain America Civil War definitely did better. It was received better by critics, fans, at the box office. They're the two major comic companies, Marvel and DC, kind of going head to head with a very similar type of movie, so it's not unreasonable to compare them. So why did Captain America Civil War win? Well, it's probably a lot of different things. Captain America Civil War was more coherently put together. Its plot was a little more streamlined and easy to follow. And also you have the momentum that the Marvel Universe has built up over several movies. It's built trust with the audience over several movies, and Batman v Superman was kind of the launching point for the DC Universe, and that extra momentum probably helped Captain America Civil War. But the key difference between the two, and the one I want to focus on here, is character. One of the reasons Captain America Civil War succeeds is it actually steals a trick from the very popular DC animated universe, and Justice League Unlimited specifically. That is, that it found a way to take characters that had been developed over decades and streamline them to their most iconic components. And in many ways found a way to create the best, most iconic versions of them. And it primarily does this through action, showing how the different characters represent themselves through action sequences. This was very effective in the DC animated universe because it had a very short amount of time with half-hour episodes, and works here in Captain America Civil War because you only have 2.5 hours for like 16 characters. For example, let's take the character The Vision. He's probably not the most popular character in Captain America Civil War, which makes him perfect for this example. If you had never had any exposure to The Vision from the comics and only had the movies, you could watch Captain America Civil War and have a pretty good idea of who The Vision is and how he functions as a character. In contrast, if you're a huge Vision fan and have been following him in the comics for years, you could recognize that Civil War's version of Vision is a solid distillation of who he is and have moments that really help you root for your favorite character. This really holds true for most, if not all, of the characters depicted in Captain America Civil War. On the other hand, with Batman v Superman, as someone who is a hardcore DC fan, and a Superman fan in particular, I still don't really feel like I've seen those two iconic characters meet on the big screen. I believe that's in large part because what makes those two characters unique wasn't really represented in the movie. Instead of a distillation of who these icons were and then pitting them against each other, we got a revamped version of both of them that's both darker and more dangerous within that world, which isn't inherently bad, but it does limit the sense that you're finally seeing those characters that you love meet each other for the first time. Think about the elements we missed in this adaptation, like having Batman and Superman finally learn each other's secret identities for the first time. Everybody just kind of found out everybody's secret identities without revealing anything about themselves and who they were as characters in the process and how they figured it out. That's something that really can't happen in the Marvel universe because a lot of the Marvel characters don't have secret identities, but it's something that's so core to Batman and Superman, it would have been cool to see them discover it like we did in the world's finest animated crossover. It would have also been great to see these characters kind of adapt and change as they go to each other's cities and have their cities be distinct characters in and of themselves. Gotham and Metropolis are as known and notorious as the characters that inhabit them. They're even sister cities in the movie, so they're right there for the characters interacting, but it just feels like one giant city. It might as well have been Mega City 1 from Dread. It's also cool to see these characters interact with each other's supporting cast. Going back to the world's finest animated movie, it was cool seeing Bruce Wayne interact with Lois Lane. In this movie, Superman doesn't interact with Alfred, Batman doesn't interact with Lois Lane. Their worlds are almost kept entirely separate. In fact, Batman and Superman themselves barely share any screen time. And even if they did, in this universe, they're not really that different. Both of them were varying levels of brooding, antisocial loners, and that takes a lot of what makes their interactions entertaining away. There's a lot to be said for doing new, updated versions of characters when you're bringing them to the big screen, especially if they're characters that have been so well trod like Batman and Superman and have had several movies. But Batman v Superman traded in characterization that had been developed for decades for little characterization at all, which took away from a lot of the movie's potential personality. A lot of people have criticized Batman v Superman for being no fun, but I think the more nuanced argument is that it doesn't really have any personality, or that the personality it does have isn't really engaging. Now, what do I mean when I say personality? Well, personality works the same way with movies as it does with people. It's the thing that makes you want to spend time with them. All the characters in Captain America Civil War had distinct, interesting personalities. Some were very serious, and some were a lot of fun, but they made the movie more entertaining and more engaging and made audiences want to go back and revisit that movie. So in comparison, Batman v Superman is that brooding kid in the back of class, took his first year of philosophy and won't shut up about it, but doesn't really understand it, and so nobody really wants to hang out with him. This isn't about dark or light movies and one being better than the other, Captain America Civil War has some really dark moments, and despite what everybody else says, Batman v Superman has some fun. I personally am a big proponent of their version of Lex Luthor within that movie universe. When you have characters going up head to head, you want different perspectives. You don't want everybody just be dark and angry. And also, if you're a Batman fan or a Superman fan, you want to see those characters. You want to see them interact. You don't want to see a Batman that's okay basically murdering people. Or you don't want to see a Superman that seems really bummed out to save people. There have been a lot of shakeups behind the scenes with the DC movie universe, and hopefully we'll see some more different types of personalities in the movies going forward, especially with Justice League coming up. You want each of those characters to bring something different and engaging to the table. Whether you know the characters or you're new to that world, you want to feel like you know those characters by the time you leave the movie, and you have at least one you can root for and like. So there you go. That's my opinion on how Captain America Civil War beat Batman v Superman, because it paid attention to each of its characters and their voices and tried to bring out the best in them instead of trying to make them something different. In the comments down below, instead of fighting about which you like better, Captain America or Batman v Superman, let me know what your favorite moments were in each of those movies, and come back next week. I'm going to be trying to turn out one of these videos every Friday, so please tune in. Let me know what kind of topics you want me to cover in the future. And thank you again for all the positive interaction you guys give me. I like this community that we're building. I'd like to keep building it. All right, that's it. Have a great weekend.